Hey, hey, hey. Time for another out-of-this-world story from rSpace. Sometimes the only happy ending is the one with divorce papers. Today on rSpace, when a midlife crisis involves more than just a sports car. Up first, instead of love letters, OP's getting served papers. I, 30 female, cheated on my husband, 27 male. He's taking it well, but I feel he resents me. I know I did something awful and disgusting, and when I couldn't take the guilt anymore, I cut off my affair partner and confessed everything to my husband. He got more upset and depressed than angry, and I begged for him to not divorce me. I proposed counseling, therapy, even allowing him to have sex with other women, but he wasn't interested. He said he wanted to try to work us out, and I jumped in being the best wife a man can ask for. I cook his favorite dishes, leave him loving notes, and bought new lingerie to entice him. His reactions are lukewarm at best. He smiles and thanks me, but not once he has said he loves me since I have confessed. He barely initiates anything, and I basically have to push myself on him, not that he complains. Sometimes we talk about this, but I think I still lost the man I love. His behavior with me feels very artificial and nothing changes his facade. I can be playful, I can be sad, I can get angry, and I can get seductive. His reaction is always the stupid smile and polite words. He was so emotional and sincere before all of this happened. I want him to let out his true emotions with me, even if he hates me. I still love him so much. What can I do to fix this? Let's check with the community for some relevant comments. Is this a troll post? If not, please share some details. How long have you been together? And how long was the affair? Who is the other man? Coworker? The OP replies, "We've been married for 5 years. My affair lasted a couple of months, and it was with a client." Someone else asks, "Okay, thank you. What do you mean by cutting off the affair? Is this person still a client? Do you have to have business contact with him? Are you seeing a therapist? Do you know why you strayed?" The OP replies again, "I ended my relationship with the client and passed his contract to a coworker. No contact ever since. I have been doing individual therapy. I don't know why I did all this. My body felt like it was on autopilot." Well, well, well. Looks like you're knee-deep in the aftermath of your little oopsie-daisy affair. Your husband's not exactly jumping for joy at the idea of you playing footsie with someone else, I take it. And all of your attempts to sprinkle a little love and affection back into your marriage are falling flatter than a pancake on a skillet. But hey, at least you're trying, right? Cooking his favorite dishes, leaving love notes, and sporting lingerie that could make a saint blush? That's some grade A effort, even if it's about as effective as using a band-aid on a bullet wound. Hey, if you're looking for a solution, here's a wild idea. How about actually talking to him? I know, it's a revolutionary concept, but maybe, just maybe, if you both put down the facade and had a real heart-to-heart, you might actually get somewhere. Or hey, you could always try a seance. Maybe you can summon the ghost of your old marriage back from the dead. Stranger things have happened, right? Update. He knows I cheated. We didn't separate, and I begged him not to divorce and let me fix this. He agreed, but his behavior since my confession has basically been one of indifference. Like I wrote on my last post, I do my best to be the best wife he could ask for. I cook his favorite foods, get him gifts, screw his brains out every night. He just smiles and thanks me. He acts kind and never yells at me, but I feel his icy indifference under that mask of courtesy. 2 weeks ago, he started coming home late, very late. And when he does, he just goes to bed. I asked him what's going on, and he told me, in the kindest way possible, that it's not my business. I call him when he stays out, and he picked up only once. I heard a woman laughing in the background. I'm starting to think he is cheating back on me. It effing hurts. If he told me at least, I would do my best to stomach it. I deserve this after all, but he won't tell me. He just shuts me out. A common friend told me she spotted him in a car with a woman she didn't recognize, and this felt like a stab in the heart. She said she couldn't describe her exactly because she wore big sunglasses, but she recognized my husband because of his particular taste in neckties. They were talking, but my friend said that from their position, it looked like they were holding their hands, or one of them was touching the other's lap. I don't know what to do. If he is having an affair, I deserve it, but I need to know. The uncertainty is killing me. Should I confront him? Should I try to find out more? Update. He left me. I did like you guys said and begged him to talk to me. He didn't want to, but I cried and yelled so much I puked all over. He got softer with me. He helped me clean up and we talked. I asked him if he was cheating on me, and he said he was talking with someone, but didn't do anything with her. I asked if she was the woman my friend saw him with. He thought on it a little, but said no. It was another woman with whom he met a month ago in his office. I asked him how could he, and said I gave him permission, and he didn't do anything besides unloading his problems and our situation with her. but he played it like he was having a full affair so I could feel what it felt like, especially because according to him, I neglected him and made it obvious I was cheating on him. He said he was suffering, and I was almost rubbing it in his face. I told him I wasn't doing it on purpose, and he said this was even worse because I didn't care at all. He said that everything I did after confessing meant nothing, and just made him think I am selfish, self-centered, and lack any sort of self-respect. I asked him if we could work on myself and our marriage, but he said we can have counseling to sort ourselves out, but the marriage is over. He said he wishes no ill on me and decided to cut his charade because he could no longer bear to see the woman he once loved suffer like that. But he said I am no longer that woman. I started sobbing again and he held me, but he kept saying no when I asked him if we could work this out. I asked him what he was going to do and he's moving out. He already found a new place. I asked him if he was going to live with that woman and he said he wasn't, but she was close enough. I asked him how he could pick a total stranger he met a month ago over his wife of 5 years. He said his wife of 5 years no longer exists. He has to pick between two strangers, and that woman made a much better impression on him. I told him he was a fool, and he could not know this woman will probably use it and dump him. He got harsh and said she's better than me for sure. He said he won't say to our families our marriage ended because I cheated, but because we grew apart, and that we will leave the house to me as long as I make the divorce smooth. But if I try to take him to the cleaners, drag it out, or cause any problems, he will tell everyone what I did and destroy me and my reputation. This happened yesterday, and he has already packed up almost everything. I can't stop crying, and I can't believe this is happening. This is horrible and unfair. There was one more relevant comment from the OP. You guys are right saying that I suck, but he has fault too. He never really wanted to fix this. He used me for months and then discarded me, and yet I want him back and forgive and forget all the hurt we've done to each other. As for his girl, I don't think she will be good for him. Alright, let's dive a little deeper into this abyss of dysfunction, shall we? You thought confessing would somehow magically fix everything, but instead, it's like you opened Pandora's box and unleashed a tsunami of chaos upon your life. Bravo! But hey, at least you two have something in common now. You're both drowning in your own self-inflicted misery. Talk about relationship goals, am I right? So here's the deal. You can keep wallowing in your self-pity, or you can grab a metaphorical shovel and start digging your way out of this mess. But hey, no pressure. Misery loves company after all. I mean, you sort of asked for him to leave you the moment you decided to cheat on him. I'm sure any woman that doesn't cheat on him is already a step above you, OP. New update. Got served divorce papers today. This feels like a nightmare. I keep telling myself it's not real and I'm going to wake up. My husband moved out 2 weeks ago, ostensibly to live with another woman, but I kept eye and ears on him, and some friends tell me his goings on, and seemingly there was no other woman at all. I hoped he was just collecting his thoughts and that he would come back to me. But today he did it. He had me served. I don't want to believe he is done with us. I love him so much, and I miss him every day. It's hard to believe anybody can truly love someone if they choose to hurt them by cheating on them. What do you think? Next up, from family man to family scandal. My husband of 20 years is cheating on me with our son's 18-year-old girlfriend. I'm going to use pseudonyms for anyone I reference in this post. I, 41 female, am a stay-at-home mom. My husband, 48 male, whom we'll call Paul, works in finance. We have been married for nearly 20 years. We have 2 kids whom we'll call Eric, our 18-year-old son, currently a senior in high school, and Mary, our 15-year-old daughter. They are both the lights of my life. My marriage with my husband has grown somewhat stale over the years for a myriad of reasons, such as his work schedule and how I've aged poorly since we first met. Our son Eric has a girlfriend, 18 female, whom he's been dating since they were freshmen in high school. We'll call her Amy. Eric absolutely adores Amy. She's his first love, and she's someone I've always considered his family. This makes the whole situation emotionally excruciating for me. Last week, I inadvertently saw my husband's phone screen and got a glimpse of a text thread between my husband and Amy, our son's girlfriend, and I read what looked like a message of her telling him that she misses sucking his cock. I froze in place, in complete disbelief. I spent most of the day convincing myself that I must have misread what I saw. However, I didn't misread it because, over the last several days, I discovered a file on his computer filled with tons of BDSM porn. He clearly has a porn addiction. He also has saved photos of Amy from her Instagram on his computer. Although they weren't inappropriate, she was fully clothed, it was still the proof I needed to confirm that I wasn't going crazy. I also looked at his phone during opportune moments and saw more of their interactions. I wish I had never looked. They were filled with mean, horrible things said at my expense, with him constantly comparing me to her. He would call me fat and old, among other things, with Amy LOLing. I've always had hunches or paranoid feelings that Paul has been cheating on me, but never in a million years could I have fathomed something like this. Last month I found a thong in our bedroom that I know wasn't mine. I turned a blind eye to it, being naive and acting like it was maybe our daughter's, even though that made zero sense. Not only is he cheating on me, but he's betraying our son. I'm completely devastated. I don't even think words can adequately describe the dread, anger, shock I feel right now. I'm totally overwhelmed on how to handle this because obviously action needs to be taken, but I'm terrified of what kind of psychic blow this will be for my son. I have no idea how to even broach this completely effed up topic with him. I wouldn't wish this predicament on my worst enemy. I can't even believe I married this scumbag in the first place. And then my mind started to race, realizing that I started noticing specifically unusual behavior from him around the same time Amy turned 18. Was he waiting for her to turn 18 before pursuing this affair? There's so many layers to all of this, and I'm completely paralyzed with fear and dread about it all. None of it makes any effing sense. How did this happen? Am I that much of a stupid idiot that I let all of this happen under my watch? Eric adores Amy, and the thought of revealing this sickening truth to him terrifies me. The impact of his young heart and mind could be devastating. My heart aches for Eric and Mary, who are completely innocent bystanders. I haven't confronted my husband about this because I'm frankly scared of the domino effect. I don't know who to turn to about this first. I share my story not for sympathy, but in search of understanding and perhaps advice for those who might have had to grapple with deep betrayal. Thank you for listening. And here's some further info from the OP. To not have my initial post be long-winded because I don't think I needed to get into the minutiae of this, I didn't bother going into those details. How I inadvertently saw it was this. He was on his phone. He did not have iMessage open currently on the screen, but the application was still open. You know how on the iPhone when you swipe up and it still shows all of the applications that are open and you can close them? When he was closing out the applications, something he does compulsively, I noticed it. It's not like he was some kind of idiotic buffoon having iMessage open for all to see. I saw he forgot he had the application running when he swiped up from a completely different app. Also, I did say in my post that I went back to his phone to actually solidify my suspicion on a different day. So you're incorrect in asserting that I'm now magically changing my story. I am being consistent. Now let's get some relevant comments from the community. First up, if she's freshly 18, isn't this illegal? There's no way they weren't doing anything illegal before she turned into an adult. Also, even if so, the age gap is over 3 decades. Your husband is suspect as F. Police immediately. DOP replies, she's been 18 for 5 months now. I haven't been able to gauge when their affair started. I'm trying my hardest to figure that out. He deletes his texts every couple of weeks, it seems like, so I haven't been able to pinpoint when this whole thing started. DOP adds this in the comments as well. Thank you for everyone for overwhelming support. I'm sorry if I haven't responded to your private messages. I'll get to it when I can. Dealing with a lot right now and taking a lot of steps that need to be taken. I'm trying to be smart and strategic with this truly surreal and terrible situation I'm in. I want to be clear that I'm not telling my son about this was never something I was considering. I didn't mean to make it seem that way. I was just saying I'm intensely dreading it, but obviously it needs to be addressed. It's one part of the many steps of my overall plan. I'm currently playing dumb and collecting as much evidence as I can so I can be prepared for anything and everything. I'm going to protect myself and I'm going to make sure I don't put myself in any potential harm's way. I'll post a more thorough update soon when I can. But please know you've all touched my heart so much and made me feel less alone. Oh boy. Talk about a midlife crisis on steroids. Not only is he robbing the cradle, but he's also indulging in some 50 Shades of Grey fantasy with your son's girlfriend. I mean, his choice in entertainment is one thing, but also, of all the people in the world, he's got to cheat on you with his son's girlfriend? Really? Update. I'm divorcing my husband because he cheated on me with our son's 18-year-old girlfriend. March 22nd, 2024. I'm using pseudonyms for confidentiality. I shared a situation a few days ago on another subreddit involving my 41 female husband, Paul, 48 male, and our children, Eric, 18 male, and Mary, 15 female. I discovered that Paul was having an affair with our son's 18-year-old girlfriend, Amy. My son has been dating her since they were freshmen in high school. My brother connected me to a very tough junkyard dog type lawyer. I saved screenshots of all his conversations with Amy. I was only able to get the last 3 months from iCloud. The conversations were mostly flirty and dirty talk. It was hard to stomach, completely sleazy, and I saw several negative things said about me. His call history showed the talks with her for hours pretty consistently. He uses dating apps. I took screenshots of his profiles and all of the active chats he has with his matches. It's very clear he uses a filter to seek out girls who are 18 to 22 or so. I copied all of his files from the computer. He goes on sex chat rooms and forums, and he spends a ton of money on OnlyFans. I rummaged through every possible hiding spot I could think of in the house. He has various toys, blindfolds, cuffs, lubricants, etc. He also had different outfits which looked kind of like a girl's Catholic school uniform and a French maid type outfit too. I picked up Eric and Mary from school, and we all drove to my brother's. They were able to sense something was awry when I picked them up. I delicately told them the entire situation and I broke down crying. Mary had the most anger, even more than Eric. I met with Amy's mother and told her everything. She confiscated Amy's phone and gave me the entire chat log. It only dated back 3 months ago, like on my husband's iCloud, almost as if they both deleted the messages at the same time. She told me Amy sobbed when confronted. Amy basically told her mother that she will never understand and that she and him are in love. I don't want to get into too many details with what else she was saying, but suffice to say, it's very easy to assume that my husband slowly and methodically became a sage-like figure in her life, making her feel like she could rely on him, and he took advantage of the fact that she came from a broken home. Amy is also nonstop insistent that their friendship only became romantic physical recently, and before that, she said he was more of a friend and mentor. I confronted Paul over Zoom. The look on his face was scary. He became red and looked so sweaty. He had anger and panic in his eyes. His tone of voice was very defensive and frightening. He kept yelling the word context over and over again, and that none of that happened. He was unable to speak without constant stutters and intensity. Nothing really made any sense to me. I refused to tell him where I was, and he said I had no right to take his kids away from him, and then he abruptly left the Zoom. My lawyer is filing for temporary sole custody of Mary and a restraining order. Mary is still the most angry. She's totally furious with her dad and Amy. Justifiably so, of course. Mary is recollecting moments in time she watched her dad interact with her friends, and she's in knots about it. Eric is very clearly hurting, but he's so strong and very level-headed. He wants to see a therapist. The maturity my kids are showing makes me proud. They don't deserve this at all. We made the authorities aware of everything. I plan on being completely unforgiving and ruthless in this divorce. I'm reflecting on how I've been treated and how it's made me a shell of myself, and how I've had a very negative opinion of myself because of him over the last 20 years. I don't want to let this scumbag get away with it. I want to reinvent myself and move on stronger than ever. Now let's check in for some relevant comments. First up, how's your son holding up? What has developed between him and Amy? The OP replies, he hasn't spoken to Amy yet since finding out the news, and I'm not sure if he ever will again. Another user chimes in, have you confirmed if the thong you found was Amy's? The situation is effed up. The OP replies, I confirmed that it wasn't my daughter's. She said it wasn't hers, and I know it wasn't mine, so who else's could it be? Another user asks, wait, are you saying that they effed in the master bedroom? Huh, don't cheaters always use their married bed? The OP replies, yes, I believe he did. The OP also adds this in the comments. Both me and my son are going to get tested and checked out as well. There's no telling how many different women he's been sleeping around with. As for Amy, her mom has been in contact with me, and Amy has been threatening to run away with him because they're in love. I'm not sure if that's the maturity your kids are showing or just some serious dissociation. Update 2, March 27th, 2024. Thank you again for all the love and encouragement. It gives me comfort and means so much to me. I've received many comments and messages accusing me of faking this story, which oddly also provides comfort because all of this feels unreal even to me. It validates my own feelings that there are people out there who can't even fathom this being true. I wish it were fake. I've been focusing on and worrying about how others are feeling over this, somewhat ignoring my own feelings, which I'm trying to change. I range from anger to numbness, like a light switch. We're all safe and still at my brother's house. We're very careful, and his house is secured. Paul has tried to call my cell phone several times a day. I'm refusing to interact with him, and I will have my lawyer handle all correspondence. He scares me, frankly. My brother has a very secure house with an alarm system and deadbolt locks. We feel safe with him. Both my son and I got checked out and tested. It appears so far that we're both clean based on the immediate rapid tests, but in the coming days we'll know for certain when the lab's results come in. I'm not overly concerned. Eric is scheduled to see a therapist early next week, which is very good and needed. He's not himself right now. He seems a bit shell-shocked, and I am concerned. He internalizes a lot, and it's hard to get a read on what's going on in his head. That being said, he's thoughtful and has been talking with me, asking me how I'm doing and everything. He's not interested in corresponding with his dad at all. He calls only my cell phone, and he hasn't tried to reach out to either Eric or Mary. I get the sense that Paul is extremely nervous. He's scared, and I think he deep down knows that If investigated thoroughly, he would be in big trouble. That's what my gut is telling me. I still think about the Zoom call with him, and the more I think about it, the more it looked like he was a man whose entire world was crashing down on him. The panic in his face was very apparent. I offered Mary for me to make an appointment with the therapist as well, but she doesn't want to see one yet. She said she's open to it eventually, but wants time to herself. She's been asking her friends about her dad and if they experienced any creepiness from him. Her friends were open and honest with her, and apparently they felt like he stared a lot and sensed his hovering presence whenever they were over. One of Mary's friends went so far as to say that she felt like he was checking her out a lot, like looking at her rear and complimenting the color of her yoga pants. At the time, no issue was brought up about it, but in light of everything that has been happening, it seems strange now. He would sit himself in different areas or vantage points to get a good view of her, she claimed. He also asked questions about what kind of friend group or which clique they were in at school. He kept asking if they were popular girls. I'm completely embarrassed that they had this experience at our house. As for updates on Amy, which is the main reason why I wanted to write this update, I completely agree that she is also a victim. A lot of people have been emphasizing that, and I agree. I've done everything I could in my own power to indirectly get her opportunities to get help. Like I said, I told her mother, and she's been updating me on everything. Amy, unfortunately, is still living in her deluded reality, and I can only pray that she'll eventually come to her senses. She doesn't want to see any doctors or therapists at all, and has been constantly trying to reach Paul because, again, she believes that they are in love. From what I've been told, she hasn't been able to get a hold of him, and he's been avoiding communication with her completely. Amy blames me for that and believes I took away his devices and am very controlling. Any truth that her mother tries to convey to her is met with conspiracy theories and hostility. Amy looks at me as a villain and still sees Paul through rose-colored glasses. Her mother showed her screenshots of his dating app profiles and matches, and she refuses to believe it, saying, "I photoshopped it." According to her mom, Amy keeps saying things like everyone is just mad because she found herself a real man, and that I'm jealous because she takes better care of him than I do. It's in line with some of the conversations I screenshot, where a lot of what Paul says is him complaining about things I don't do for him sexually. Right now, she's insistent that she and Paul will be together in the long run. Ugh, he's honestly a slime ball. I can only hope that Amy comes to her senses, but me directly intervening doesn't feel like it would be productive at the moment. Maybe eventually, though. Now a couple relevant comments from the community. The first user says, "I'm so sorry that this happened to you. Reading all the previous posts, I honestly get the vibe that your husband wasn't a very good one to begin with. Someday, when you're ready, you're going to find someone who thinks you're glorious as you age. Your son is also going to be okay. He's gotten a lesson on exactly how men shouldn't behave. A painful one, but in time he's going to realize that Amy was groomed and abused. It sounds like she was vulnerable and your ex took advantage of a child who was in a bad situation. Hopefully once Amy has had some time to process just how messed up this was, she'll tell the police the whole story. I fully believe something is happening before she turned 18. The OP replies, "I believe stuff happened before she was 18 too." Someone in the community also chimes in, "Do you think that they kept the relationship secret for most of Eric and Amy's relationship? What a disgusting father and a pig if that is the truth." To which the OP replies, "I'm not sure when things got actually physical or romantic, but I do think his grooming started as soon as she came into the picture when Eric started dating her freshman year. This mentor and a friend that Amy alluded to had a start right away, and the way she's acting now, being so indebted and believing every single thing he says, shows that his effect on her had to be over a long period of time. She only turned 18 like 5 months ago. Her behavior and infatuation for him seems so strong that it couldn't possibly be for only 5 months of them being together." One more quick community thought. If they're consenting adults, then there is nothing to report. This is a personal problem that needs to be dealt with by attorneys and the people involved. People are way too jumpy to snap to the police to fix their problems anymore. OP is handling this the correct way. If any legal issues come into play, then her attorney will do the right thing. The OP replies to that, "The only thing we can really hang our hat on is the possibility of Amy having an epiphany of the reality of her situation, and she opens up candidly about when it began. But because she's 18 currently and has no interest in saying or doing anything that could potentially put Paul in legal trouble, nothing really can be done, unless they find out about other girls that I have no idea about yet." Well, your life certainly took a detour into the Twilight Zone, didn't it? What the heck is actually happening? Seriously, the man's got more red flags than a communist parade. He's like the poster child for what not to do in a marriage, a walking, talking cautionary tale and tailored suit. Then there's his interest in your daughter's friends. I mean, who sits around checking out teenagers like they're picking out fruit at the grocery store? And asking about their popularity status? That's some serious creeper behavior right there. It's like he's trying to relive his high school glory days through their Instagram photos. And Amy? Poor girl's gone from high school romance to a full-blown episode of Survivor, Creep Edition. As for your son, well, he's getting a crash course in the world of messed up relationships. Forget sex ed, he's learning Betrayal 101 in real time. But hey, at least he's got you in his corner, armed with a hefty dose of motherly love and a solid plan to navigate through this dumpster fire of a situation. New update. The support, again, has been overwhelming, and I'm very grateful. Sadly, I've received a lot of negative, accusatory, harassing private messages from people here who think I'm faking this story. Someone made a comment on some post somewhere claiming that my story has been debunked, and people believed that person. I've seen an uptick in negative messages accusing me of making this up for money. I'm not asking for money at all. Coming here was completely rooted in emotional desperation, and I didn't expect anyone to get invested in my story this way. But again, I'm not looking for anything out of this. I have no reason to lie. I'm not gaining anything from this. If you don't believe me, that's fine. I don't care, but the only thing I ask is to not cross the line and start sending me private messages that are mean-spirited or accusatory. The only reason I'm continuing this post is because of those of you who've sent some love here, and the support really lifted my spirits. As for the divorce, it's very much underway. I'm not going to get into the specifics of it all because it's ongoing, and I want to make sure everything is going to go smoothly. I got temporary custody of Mary. Paul also has to pay temporary child support. There's a protective order. Paul can't contact us or come near us. Right now, we're just focusing on getting through this legal mess. Again, not getting into specifics because I don't want to mess anything up. But what I'll say is I'm very confident, divorce aside, that there's overwhelming evidence against Paul that will get him in serious trouble and it will impact him for the rest of his life. I'm sure eventually I can share more about that. I know a lot of people are concerned about his predatory ways, and I just want to convey this. Even though I have to be vague right now, justice will come. All of your concern about how my kids are doing psychologically means a lot to me. Eric has been to therapy twice over the last 2 weeks. I know some people thought I was dismissive of him and acting like he's doing okay. I very much know that he's hurting internally, and we're doing everything we can to make sure he knows he is supported and loved. My brother has been amazing in spending time with Eric and Mary, and both of them have confided in him about a lot. My brother has a very healthy marriage, and both he and his wife have really stepped up to the plate for all of us. Mary has not seen a therapist yet, but she promises that she will be open to seeing one soon. Her anger has mostly turned into sadness, I noticed, and I hope I can get her to see a therapist soon. Her friends have played a key role in this whole thing, and that's something that Mary has been grappling with as well. I know a lot of people are invested in the well-being of Amy as well. There were a lot of questions about whether Eric and Amy would still see each other at school. It sounded like they go to the same school, but they do not. Eric and Amy went to the same junior high school and knew each other even there, but Amy ended up going to an all-girls Catholic high school while Eric, and Mary too, stayed in the public school system. We all lived in the same town, and over the summer heading into freshman year is when they were getting to know each other and when they started dating. I wish I had a better Amy update, but it's gotten a lot worse since the last update. Paul has actually been seeing Amy despite her mother trying to force her to not see him. She tells me that Amy says she's 18 and an adult, and she can do what she wants. Her mother is in a precarious spot because if she kicks Amy out of the house for defying her, something that she has threatened to do, which I think is a mistake, she would just run to Paul permanently. The time she spends with Paul has increased over the last week, despite the fact that Paul initially ghosted her when all of this first hit the fan. There were some days when Amy would just be gone for hours on end. There's only so much I can do with the Amy situation, but again, I do believe things will turn around soon with that. Given what I know about Paul and what's to come, I can only pray that Amy can get help and guidance when more crap hits the fan. I'm doing everything I can with my own kids and my own mental health, and Amy's mom knows she has my support, and that's all I can really provide. Now for a couple of comments from the community. First up, to be honest, the only way that Amy will see how messed up Paul is when he eventually sleeps with someone else or he accuses her of seducing him. Even if he ends as a sex offender, I don't know if that's enough to convince her that he's a creep and dangerous. Now I'm curious to what Paul's intentions are. He ghosted her and now all of a sudden they're meeting up again? Worst case scenario, he's going to have her falsely testify, which I don't think will take much convincing Amy. Honestly, you and Amy's mom did what you could. The best thing Amy's mom can do is sit and wait, but don't kick her out. Let her know she'll be there for Amy and she'll still have a roof over her head. And pray she snaps out of it soon instead of years later when she has burned bridges and wasted her life on a man who took advantage and ruined everyone else's lives. Someone else from the community chimes in. Take care of yourself and please don't stress about these internet trolls. They are mean, heartless, soulless humans who have nothing better to do in life than tear people down that are already hurting. Though I'm also a stranger, your story moved me and I'm so sad that you have to go through this. Please take care of yourself too. Sounds like both kids are doing okay now, but you need to be well too. Best. Ah, Paul, the gift that keeps on giving. Unwanted gifts, that is. It's like he's playing a twisted game of how to be the creepiest ex-husband ever. Paul's got a knack for manipulating the situation to his advantage, like a puppeteer pulling the strings of a marionette. And Amy? Well, she's like a moth to Paul's flame, only this flame is more dumpster fire than candlelight dinner. And poor Eric. He didn't just lose his girlfriend, but he lost his father. It can't be easy for both Eric and Mary learning of all of this about a man who's supposed to protect and care for them. It's a bitter pill to swallow, realizing that the person they once trusted implicitly is capable of such callous disregard for their feelings and well-being. This definitely isn't how you want to learn who your father truly is. I mean, it's one thing to learn that your dad's a cheater, and it's something completely else when your father's a creep. Do you have a similar story? Share it with us in the comments below. Thank you for joining us today on rSpace. Be sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on our next video. See you soon!